So for us, it's sort of, I'm not at the stage, but I'm starting to think about the next stage where we're doing the content marketing. We have the blogs. I think we've 40 blogs at the minute. We've another 20 waiting to be published. We're doing videos, podcasts, a lot of content. And it looks as if now we're going to start getting some money on over the next couple of months. So to me now, I'm starting to think about, right, how do I spend that money to grow the business? So how do I reinvest it? And it's developing a process, because there's different things. There's like, I know you do the brand thing. You have a package, there's another package, and there's looking at like ethical sales, where they want to charge me like $3,000 a month for getting me sales leads. And I'm just sort of trying to develop a process. So I'm not looking for assistance really. How do I develop that process as money comes in? Now, the first bit of money, I think that's an easy one. It's like for automating social media. So you can, we have Canva. That's unbelievable. And it's so cheap for like $15 a month. That's our main tool. So then we can add on top of that, like the sharing them posts across multiple platforms. That's an easy one. But then it's just the next level of, if we start with 500 a month to spend, or 1,000 months, how do you develop that process? Not specifically, that's I just develop the process to actually, how do you figure out how to spend that money to grow the business as it comes in?
Does anyone have stuff to chime in?
I think at that point,
Go
you
ahead.
probably,
Okay, Shafia and then Daniel.
I think at that point, you probably want someone to manage your social media for you, just specifically for that. It doesn't have to be someone full-time, but just someone part-time. I also use Canva myself, super helpful. And, like you mentioned, you can eventually use a scheduling platform that can schedule across different platforms. But I think that it's still a good idea to have someone keeping an eye on all of it, because it will be a lot. Blogs, newsletter, email, whatever.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to say that time is something that people forget about, is that it takes time to get, even with your SEO, links, searches, things like that. Over time, the plant database, the natural capital plant database, we've been doing for 20 years. And it wasn't until, well, I should say last 8 years actually, that it really took off, mostly because of the effort that went into doing that. But it's like the more sales you make, the more people you get. It's the word of mouth and relationships that have been the key to all of our business. It's people who know you, who recommend you for that. And even though I have a couple websites and all that's going, those are also very focused, because one of the reasons people hire us is because of our reputation for design. And we don't have a lot of pictures of brickwork or raised beds or that kind of stuff, or chickens or things like that, right? Because we do certain markets and certain things internationally and nationally. And I did, community gardens back in the day. I still do homestead design. I also work on 6,000 and 10,000 acre projects in Haiti. So it's segmenting, I think, what you do, but also focusing on what gets you the work. And for us, our brand is our style, United Designer Style. And people recognize our design style. And that's what basically attracts people, because it's the style of how we deliver our work that basically raises our reputation. And we have a number of people who are using it. So, and like social media too, also Facebook, Instagram, all those things. And for me, that's great and all that. But like as being said, at this point, you need to have somebody doing that for you, because it's a jungle. I can't imagine spending time on that if that's not your gift or your generation. It's like I was writing my own HTML back in the 90s. I mean, really, I was starting from scratch and writing my own websites. Now that's not anything I can do. And of course, that's all farmed out. But good design and marketing, and then basically the word of mouth and just being out there with all your work. And I think that's what's really important. Visibility. And the last thing I wanted to say too is what they used to say about magazine ads, which, you know, is kind of passé now these days, but it's the number of impressions that you have. And it's not just putting out that one lead once, not just putting out that Instagram or that thing once, it's putting it out for months at a time, you know, and all of that stuff builds up your momentum going forward. But it really, you have to be relentless and ruthless, I think, with getting your material out there, and only your best stuff and only the kind of work you want to go to, because a lot of people go for this buckshot idea. They'll work for anybody. They just need the money coming in, but go for the 5%. Go for the 5% of the people that think like you, and then you'll get people that are more likely to hire you, and you're not going to waste a lot of time, and you can charge more that way also. And the people that were be willing to pay it. So I think the target marketing for what you actually do is kind of hard to define, but going for that. And like Dave was talking about too, with trying to build his community. I live in a tiny home on wheels right now. It's still, I figured it's still a tiny home, 300 square feet, but that whole community is characteristics and has needs. And I know the RV, full-time RV people, the remote worker RV people, all these communities that I've joined that we have these similarities. That's where I think it's golden as far as marketing goes. You join those communities that basically think similarly in one way, they probably have needs and characteristics that are also similar in other ways. And being part of that conversation, I think, is really smart. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Amelia, did you have your hand up to address Cormac's challenge, or did you have your own challenge to bring up?
I have my own challenge, but I did
Okay.
post in the chat a little note for Cormac.
Okay. Does anyone else have, I have things to chip in. Does anyone else have something to chip in for Cormac's challenge? Okay. One really, really cool book, you're talking about finances and how to like divide it up in the business, and you have to make sure you get paid and a certain amount goes to different places. I'm going to put in the chat, Profit First is an amazing book, setting up the financial side of your business, making sure that enough money is going into certain places, but not too much in any certain place. That makes sense. Super, super good book. We use it all the time in our own businesses and those we consult with. Very, very helpful. Also, be aware of, I mean, yes, batching social is great. Personally, I do it once a month and I batch all of it, and then it's scheduled and done. So it doesn't take up my whole life. I'm the content person in our organization. So this is where I live in content. But beware trying to make content for content's sake without having a strategy behind it, because if you don't have a clear marketing strategy, you just are pushing out content, but it's not necessarily getting them to the right place or telling your story intentionally. So just be aware of that. Some people think you can just start doing stuff on social and then the people will come, and that's not really how it works. It's a great free resource. It's low bar of entry, but without a solid like strategy as to why you're using that particular channel, because your people may not even be on that channel, and how to address it effectively and get them involved in the right ways, it could really be a waste of time. So just something to think about.
We do have a strategy. Oh, thanks for the advice. We do have a strategy for everything, whether it's the right strategy or not. That's open for evaluation. So we do look at the strategies and think, right, we sit down every month and say, right, we look at our some crude metrics. It's like just our followers on social media. How far have we gone up this month? And we can actually look at it and say, well, our social media posting was down this month, therefore our rate of growth has gone back. But then we're not actually getting sales conversions on any of them follows. So it's not actually, is it a relevant follow? So we are monitoring all them metrics and trying to make some sense of it. And it was just, I'm getting ahead of myself like a few months here, but I'm sort of planning the next stage when when this comes, I like to be prepared, and it's done us okay so far. So that's why I'm trying to think ahead. So although we're not there yet, that's where we want to get to. But particularly with Daniel's brand, I do reckon it is recognizable, and it's that's worked very well for them. But it was sort of, for me, it was trying to, how do you sort of, with all these things coming at you, people offering you, give us $3,000 a month and I'll get you all these sales, no 10x return. It's like, well, are you really going to, and how I prioritize that? But no, thanks very much. That's all good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, organic growth is a big topic, and it's a challenge for businesses to grow sustainably, not grow too quick, but also like keep up with it for sure. But that's great. You're doing analytics. Lots of people
Well,
forget about the analytics.
And we have given ourselves, like we've said, it's going to be like a 2 or 3 year overnight success. So we're here for the long run. We're just going to keep putting the content out and just slow growth. And
Awesome. Okay, do you feel complete, Cormac?
that's great. Thanks very much.